Annyeonghaseyo, 8th graders. Welcome to Geology Lesson 4. Today we're going to be talking about plate tectonics. So our objectives for today are content objective. I can understand plate tectonics and the three different types of plate boundaries. Your language objective is to explain why mantle convection causes plate movement. And we have about 8 keywords for today. So our first keyword is tectonic plate, convection, plate boundary, and convergent. Our next word is subduction, divergent, mid-ocean ridge, and finally transform. To begin, let's review some of the information that we had from our last slide yesterday. Plate tectonics. Plate tectonics happens because of mantle convection. Mantle convection means that the mantle is always moving beneath the Earth's crust. So this movement ultimately drags on the lithosphere. The Earth's crust begins to move, and because the Earth's crust is moving, it fractures into different plates. Now, I had prepared a video for you at this point in time to sort of demonstrate the connection between mantle convection and plate movement. However, I cannot play this video if I record my slideshow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link to this video in the description on YouTube. And so what I would like you to do at this point in time is pause my video and then click onto the link. And you maybe want to right-click that link, open it in a new tab, and watch that video. When that video is like in 1 minute 40 seconds, and when that video is done, go ahead and close it, and then come back to my PowerPoint presentation. Sorry, that's a little confusing. Hopefully you'll be able to watch it without any problems. So as the video mentioned, the Earth's crust is split up into different plates, and these different plates are all moving. And so the Earth has 15 major tectonic plates, and you can see these plates in this map. We are sitting on top of the North American plate. So the Earth's plates are always moving, and the Earth's plates are always moving against each other, and they move against each other in 3 different ways. So the first way that plates move against each other is called a convergent boundary. So 2 plates are moving towards each other. They're moving towards each other, they kind of crash into each other, and one plate goes on top of another. So when one plate is going underneath a different plate, that's called subduction. Okay. And so one way that we try to memorize these different plate boundaries is just by using some sort of hand movement and saying the word to. So when we talk about a convergent boundary, we do this. We say convergent, convergent. I know it seems kind of silly to do at home when you're studying online, but it's still a good way to remember the different plate boundaries. So go ahead, put one hand on top of the other, and move them across each other and say the word convergent. So here we have a diagram of a convergent boundary, and you can see that as one plate pushes another plate upward, it ultimately ends up raising mountains up. And we can see this happening in the Himalayan mountains. India is actually a continent, and the continent of India kind of crashed into Asia, and it created this huge set of mountains called the Himalayan mountains. And so whenever one plate crashes into another, it creates mountains, and those mountains are very tall. And so the Himalayan mountains are the tallest mountains in the world right now, and it's because they're also one of the youngest mountains in the world. As time goes on, rain, erosion sort of makes mountains get smaller and smaller, but right now the Himalayas are a very young mountain range, so they are the tallest on the Earth. The next kind of boundary is a divergent boundary. This happens, as we saw in the video, when 2 plates move away from each other. So it's kind of weird because when I look at the camera and what I see in my picture is opposite. So plates that move away from each other are divergent boundaries. And so if we're going to do hand motions to remember these terms, go ahead, put your hands together, put your fists together like this, and thumbs out, and move them away and say divergent boundary. Divergent boundary. And I usually do a little circle with my arms, divergent boundary. So those two plates are moving away from each other. This is a picture of Iceland, and Iceland sits atop of the mid-Atlantic Ocean ridge. And so basically the Atlantic Ocean is getting bigger every day. So the Atlantic Ocean is spreading out this way. It's pushing Europe and North America further and further away from each other. And Iceland happens to be an island which sits directly on top of the mid-Atlantic ridge. And so we can see this crack in the island itself where the two plates are moving away from each other. And the mid-Atlantic ridge, you can see it in this picture, it's a sort of jagged red line which goes right down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So as I mentioned before, North America, South America, Europe, and Africa, they're all moving away from each other. Right now, the Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean in the world. However, in millions of years, the Atlantic Ocean is going to be bigger than the Pacific Ocean. So the last type of boundary is called a transform boundary. And if I'm going to go back to our hand movements to remember these terms, transform boundary looks like this. Transform boundary. So when two plates are kind of moving side by side, that's what a transform boundary is. And actually, I'm going to go back and I'm going to revise these notes. So yeah, the plates move side by side. And here we can see a picture of plates moving side by side. And this is a really interesting picture of a transform boundary. We can see someone, a farmer, plowed his fields or her fields, and we can see that these, how should I say that? The rows originally were completely straight, but because there was an earthquake, these rows are now offset. And so you can really see like how that transform boundary is moving one plate in this direction and another plate in that direction. So for homework, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to draw a diagram of all three plate boundaries. I've got a picture here of the different types of boundaries. You don't have to draw the same picture as I have here. You can go online, look up a picture that, I don't know, is appealing to you. This has a lot of details that you might not need. One thing that I liked about this particular image was that it had kind of a chart which gives you a little bit more information about what you can find in these plate boundaries. Are there volcanoes at these plate boundaries? Are there what kind of motion do they have, and what kind of landscape features can you find at each boundary. As I mentioned before, you can always contact me if you have any questions. sjkwok@sejongacademy.org. That's sjkwok@sejongacademy.org. You can also hit me up during office hours every day from 9:30 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. Thank you, and this is our last class for the week, so have a great weekend. Peace.